Think positive.
Sorry, I'm like. Yeah.
So I got that on base.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Can we strike that from the record?
So I'm like. Doing all the things, I'm like, with water and food and caffeine, like, which one of them? Yeah, so this lady. That's not one of the options, so. I mean, it's like.
What do you think of the trade set going on? They got rid of Luca over at Dallas.
Okay, well, this is of particular interest to me because he's Serbian, I'm Serbian. So personally, I'm just rooting for him individually, whatever is good for him. So I'm okay with it. I got no problem.
His father was nice.
I didn't see that one.
Okay, everybody. We actually now officially have quorum.
That he
We're gonna
can't
go
believe
get started.
that this guy who's the franchise.
They would just get rid of it.
Michael the Y. Yeah, exactly. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Landmarks Committee of Community Board 5. My name is Kevin Frizz. I'm the vice chair of the committee, sitting in tonight for Mark Hirschberg. We have 2 agenda items tonight. The first is 400 Madison Avenue, an application for an individual historic landmark building designated in 2016 to replace non-historic storefront infill, the second southernmost bay, and add new retail signage. Second application is 41 West 17th Street, an application in the Ladies Mile Historic District to install additional double parking stackers in existing parking lot. Though many of you are familiar, the procedures are as follows. After a brief introduction, each of the applicants will give a full uninterrupted presentation. Following the presentation, we'll move to questions from the committee. Once questions from the members of the committee conclude, I'll open up the floor to members of the public who have an opportunity to ask questions and make comments about the issue. Once the public comment and question session concludes, we'll move on to business session. During business session, only members of the committee are allowed to discuss the matter. During this time, members of the public or the applicant are only allowed to speak when recognized by the chair. Following the discussion, we'll make a motion which will be taken by vote in the committee. The vote and resolution put forth by the committee will be presented for a vote to the full board, which will then become the official position of Community Board 5 and forwarded to the Landmarks Preservation Committee, any relevant agencies and elected officials. Next full board meeting is a week from this Thursday, February 13th, 6 p.m. Information about the meeting is on our website, cb5.org. And just a reminder to the members of the committee, if you have a conflict of interest, please disclose it before you make a comment or have any questions. So that's it for housekeeping. So with that, we will start with an introduction to our first agenda item, which is the team from 400 Madison. Thank you for being here. Please, if you don't mind, state your name and firm clearly, just for the audio.
Hi, I'm Erin Ruley from Higgins Place Barth and Partners. We're the historic preservation consultants for 400 Madison.
Can I just make a request that I didn't bring the item today, not that they work, but I don't hear so well.
Okay.
So
Speak loudly.
slowly and loud. Thank you.
Great. So as was introduced, this is an item regarding 400 Madison, which is an individual landmark. It was designated in 2016. You can see the landmark on the left. It is a 21-story neo-Gothic skyscraper designed by H. Craig Severance in 1928 to 29. And the application is to replace one storefront bay, which is located here. And this is the subject bay that we'll be talking about tonight. This is a view of the building. Unfortunately, it's under scaffolding now, but this is from the designation report in 2016. And the The work here is proposed for a new tenant that's going to occupy the 3 bays that are highlighted here. So 3 bays on the south side of the building, which is between 47th and 48th Street, right? 47th, yeah. I was confused. And that's on the west side of the street. And right now it's 2 retail spaces and it's going to be combined into a single space. Prior to designation, most of the historic storefronts were replaced. There are 3 storefronts that have historic remnants of bronze surrounds in the storefront bays, including the one that we're going to be looking at today. And so here is the proposal, the existing conditions on the top, proposed conditions on the bottom. Chopped will be moving in the space. And so you can see in the existing condition, we have a historic surround. There's bronze sign band and pilasters, and then non-historic infill here. And there's a historic granite bulkhead at the base of the storefront. And so the proposal is for a new storefront infill. It'll be an aluminum system that's finished to match the bronze, surrounding bronze. All of the historic fabric remains. And the pilaster that's located on the south side of the bay, the one on the north has been removed. And so that'll be replicated and installed as part of the overall scope. And the granite bulkhead is going to be salvaged and reinstalled in the new configuration within the storefront. There's also a proposal for signage that we'll look at the end that includes the scope for the hearing is the signage over the entry at the sign band and the bracket sign to the south on the pier. Here, just to give you a sense of what the building looked like historically. This is unfortunately the best photograph we found of the storefronts. But you can see it had a continuous granite bulkhead at all of the storefronts, the bronze sign band, and then all broken by the piers, and sort of a very kind of light and quiet storefront configuration. Again, here's the existing condition. So you can see that sort of simply framed black system that's all non-historic. We know from historic photos and plans that the entry was originally on the south side of this bay. So there's already been modification at the bulkhead, and because this entry location is not original. And here you can see where the pilaster or colonnette has been removed at the corner of the storefront. Just some of the details of the existing colonnette. It has a base with chevron pattern moving up for the body of the storefront, and then at the top it has a capital of sorts, and that will be replicated on the south side of the storefront, north side of the storefront. So overall, base top is the existing condition, bottom is the proposed. The highlighted bays are those that have remnants of historic fabric. Everything else has been replaced entirely, and there's no historic fabric that remains in any of those bays. Of the bays, the one that we are looking at has the most historic fabric, it's the most intact. So the proposal here, you can see a pair of center bay double leaf doors, flanked by display windows, the salvaged granite bulkhead, the new aluminum storefront system. That system, we'll look at the details, but it has a molded profile to recall historic detailing, and the replicated colonnette or pilaster at the north side, and then the proposed signage, which we're going to look at details at the very end, and the bracket sign here. In plan, the existing plan, as I mentioned, it's currently 2 separate spaces, 2 separate tenants that will all be combined into one retail space. The new entry bay will be, will be the primary entry, and then the exit will be at the existing northernmost bay within that sort of tripartite storefront. Just at a larger scale, we'll actually dig into the details a little bit here. Sorry, it's unfortunately very light. But what we have is, here's the extant pilaster, the new storefront framing, the new aluminum system. Again, it's going to be finished to match the bronze color. The molded profile, these are sort of snap-on trim details that are typical for storefront infill, in landmark projects. And then at the north side, replicating, this is the replicated colonnette, the new molded profile and the storefront framing. In vertical section, the existing conditions on the left, proposed is on the right. We have the existing granite bulkhead and that very simply framed storefront system with the sign band, historic sign band at the top. And in the proposed condition, maintaining the granite base bulkhead, the new storefront system, and extending up to the sign band. The storefront system will drop down a little bit from the existing. We can go back to a photograph, but right now you don't see the top framing of the existing storefront, which is not sort of a typical detail. So we're going to bring the framing down and give it the molded profile so that it's all sort of continuous and of a piece. So here's that detail to sort of give you a better sense of the existing sign band and the this is the bottom of the bronze detail, the molded profile, and then the storefront framing. Section cut through the entryway. Entry will be recessed 18 inches to allow for the door swing. Historically, the entries were recessed within the storefront configuration, and there'll be a metal finished panel soffit above the door, and that'll all be again finished to match the existing bronze. The door is going to have a frame. It'll have stiles and rails, 2 inches around, 2-inch stiles and a 2-inch rail at the top and 10-inch bottom rail. Again, another detail showing you this is the proposed door detail and the soffit. The signage. So the existing condition is at the sign band is sort of a 2-panel system. We think that what existed historically was the top band was signage, the bottom band was the awning pocket. So the awning was sort of contained within this bottom panel and would the flap would hang out of the front. And that's been covered over with a brass or bronze panel. And so the proposal here is for 15-inch letters to be adhesively applied on the sign band. And then the front face of those letters will be metal, white painted metal. And at the rear is acrylic that will be, so it'll be a halo lit sign. And so it's because it is, we'll look at it in section, because it's adhesively applied, instead of reflecting off of the back panel the way a typical halo lit sign would, this is going to have a lit edge, but not the front face or the front edge. So the first 2 inches of the sign are metal, and then the rear portion, which sort of straddles the existing molding, is going to be acrylic. The new bracket sign is going to be located below the bullnose. As you let me just look back really quickly to show you that the storefronts are actually really compressed by this bullnose cornice. You can see it here. The base is 5 stories, but the storefronts are this sort of very low condition and marked by the projecting granite bullnose at the top. And so there's a requirement to have at the bottom of the sign has to be 10 feet above the sidewalk level. So in order to achieve that 10 feet, the sign has to be right under the bullnose. And so the bracket is designed to engage right below the bullnose, and then it would be a round metal bracket sign. The face would be metal, and the letters are raised acrylic. And you can see it's projecting 18 inches, which is the maximum allowable, and it's 15 inches in diameter, and then will sit sort of below the bullnose. And so that it's the combination of those two signage elements that are part of the hearing scope of work. And that is it. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
What was that?
Okay,
I'm happy to answer any questions.
thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Michael?
What's a bullnose?
A bullnose is
A nose of a bull? No?
Oh, on the granite, here you go, this element here.
Those two things?
That one thing, it's one large piece of projecting granite on the, let me go to the detail for you. That, here you go, this gives you a better idea, it goes from here, here.
That's a bull note.
Mhm.
Who'd have thunk?
Barbara, sorry.
So the signage on the metal,
Mhm.
restored metal,
Mhm,
top, that, you said that's adhesively applied?
mhm. So that it doesn't have to, penetrate there are, just to be clear, there are penetrations in in the lower panel. Go back to the detail. Because they're halo lit, so they need a low voltage connection. And so there's gonna be one penetration per letter. It's right here. But it's coming through that non-historic cover that's over the awning pocket. Show you that. And right here, this is the filler panel, and then this is what was the original sign band.
I can't.
Oh, it's this in front of it. Can we clear that box? I don't know. This.
Yeah. Good to see.
Okay, there you go. So, you can see, this is in a kind of a recessed plane, and it's a different, finish than this. And so this is where we think this is the historic awning pocket that has been covered over. And so the penetrations will all come through this panel, but no penetrations through this.
So you're saying that bottom panel is not historic?
Not historic.
Okay. Do you know when it was put in?
No.
And but the signs span both
Mhm,
pieces,
mhm.
and is that middle piece, it protrudes, so
So they're gonna cut the back of the
I
sign
see.
so that it is. There you go. So you can see it's kind of, it's hard to see here. This is shaded gray. And then between the dotted line and that molded piece, so it's that narrow there, and then, yeah.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to ask a little bit more about, and maybe you brought samples of the aluminum for us to see in terms of matching the historic brass or
Mhm.
bronze that's there. We're always concerned about, your replication materials sound
Right.
fascinating, and I know you guys are being great stewards, but we're always curious about how that's gonna match. Does it look new? How can you make it look old? How long will it last? Can you speak to that, and did you bring a sample?
We did not bring a sample.
Okay.
We don't have a sample yet. But we would work closely with LPC staff, of course, to make sure that we get the finish right. The existing condition, the historic surround needs to be clean in order to match a good sample, because they've been going through local law 11 work, and you can see in the photographs,
Do you mean clean the entire building or just your area?
just our area.
So it's gonna look,
The bronze surround needs to be cleaned. The overall storefront condition, like every bay is kind of different because they all have contemporary storefronts.
right,
So in here, you can see all the dirt sort of running down the building. So the historic bronze is soiled. And so in order to get a good match, we're gonna need to clean a sample
Okay.
and match that. And so that's the intent, the plan.
and the product that you're using, obviously, you feel like it will match that and be able to retain that and not look new as the rest of everything else patinas and
No, and
changes.
we think it'll be a good match and it'll be consistent, because you can always, the bronze storefronts, if you look back at Street View, they're so bright 10 years ago. And so I think it's really a function of maintenance. And so as long as the storefront is maintained, it should all be consistent going forward. And I think, part of that is also tenant driven. And I think as new tenants come in, especially something like Chopped, that has a pretty distinct identity, that they'll be maintaining the storefronts in a different way than perhaps what's happened over time.
And that metal or that aluminum is just a great deal cheaper, is that why, versus replacing it with?
Bronze. But the finish is gonna be a custom finish to match, so it's not a stock finish. And so that's the system that they're proposing, this Conair system, will, have the ability to be finished with any,
It just doesn't age.
it doesn't, you're right.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon, did you have a question?
Yes, I have two questions. If you can, look, if you know, is this building have a master plan and is there a storefront master plan? And if so, is this particular design in alignment with that?
There's no storefront master plan. It's a fairly recent designation, and this is the first storefront that's changed. From, you can see in all those stainless steel storefronts that exist were put in like the year before designation. So it's a very recent condition, and, they most likely will require a master plan in the future. But there was an immediate need due to lease terms here for this storefront, and, ownership needs more time and ability to assess, sort of tenancy, space requirements and terms, in order to really develop anything comprehensively for a master plan going forward.
Okay, and I have a second
Yeah,
question.
sure.
You had mentioned the bottom of the sign was 10 feet. Is that code driven or part of someone's standards?
It's a landmarks requirement, but I think it's based on a zoning requirement. I think it's in the landmarks rules, but I think it defers to city planning.
Okay, thank you.
And I would also add that anything that we're doing in this bay doesn't preclude a master plan that might be conceivably more restorative, or, if they wanted to go forward in the future with bronze storefronts. Nothing here would limit the ability to do something different with the master plan. And also, in terms, this bay is unique within the whole building, because it's the only bay that has an extant double sign band, where the awning pocket and the sign band are both retained. Everything, the other two bays that have historic infill, which we can see sort of on the right here, it's been removed, and they just have an opaque glass panel there. It's probably a soffit or something that's behind the film. And then, so this signage, if the signage is approved in this bay, it doesn't necessarily dictate that signage in every bay in the future, because the physical conditions are going to be very different going forward.
Any other questions? John, did you have one?
Yeah, she may have just answered it, but I'll try anyway. You referenced that you were in compliance with the 18-inch rule. Could you just elaborate? I mean, I know what the rule is, but I think I missed something in the presentation about
For
what it
the
applies to.
signage height or the projection of the signage?
Well, that's why I'm asking you. I just heard you say 18
I think it
inches.
was
and I
in
missed-
reference to the door
I
swing.
missed
Oh,
part.
the door swing. I said 18 inches for the door swing.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yes, so that's the allowable. Karen will be able to answer this better than me. But you can only come out over the sidewalk 18 inches, with a door swing. So that's why entry doors are recessed to allow
Ah,
for
that's what-
that encroachment on the sidewalk. In terms of the signage though, 18 inches applies to two different
Right,
things.
right. I think that's the source of my confusion.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
so you can project 18 inches from the property
From the-
line.
Right.
And signage under landmarks staff rules is allowed to be 18 inches in height.
Correct.
And the proposed signage is 15.
Okay, got it. All right. And then another question, I think you may have answered it too, but what impact will this have on any original fabric?
Nothing, all the historic fabric is being retained. And I mean, it's being improved because we're restoring, replicating that pilaster at the north end of the bay. And so we're bringing it more consistent with the historic condition. And the only modification is to salvage and reinstall the granite bulkhead. So there's the existing granite bulkhead, which you see here, is going to be retained, and when the doors are inserted in the center of the bay, half of it will go to the south and half of it will go to the north and the returns.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
Sorry, she's beating a dead horse, but only because I don't know the answer. And that is just bringing up this bronze again, sorry. We appreciate all the historic fabric that you're improving and replicating. That's such great news to us. But with regards to, because I can't really see that well from here, and if you showed this, I'm sorry, or spoke to this, but are the other storefronts, have they also replaced the bronze? Have they, is it all, it's all metal and you guys are sort of the last of the bronze? I didn't know what criteria was, there was no master plan.
Yeah, there are 3 storefronts out of 11. The ones that are highlighted in blue have a bronze surround that remains. Everything else is entirely gone. So this is our bay, and then there's these 2. These both have a sign band, just but the single panel, and colonnettes or pilasters. But the bulkheads have been removed because all the infill is contemporary. It's actually this one. I think it's this one. It's actually kind of funny. It's a traditional storefront, has a wood bulkhead. It looks like something out of the village, but it's in a bronze surround in a skyscraper. It's very interesting combination of things, but
All right, so now master plan is.
no master
I
plan.
just wondered what was the percentage? Thank you.
This is, and then all of the other storefronts are consistent. They are the same, material and design, that those were the ones that were replaced.
And those are the not bronze,
Yes,
they are bronze.
no, they are not.
They are not. Okay,
Stainless steel.
thank you. Okay.
Sachi?
This is more of a ignorant question about policy in general, since we haven't seen a storefront in a while, there hasn't been flags and stuff.
Mhm.
What can LPC staff just kind of like check, storefront, cool,
Mhm.
awesome, and what are the things that are more like, oh, the commission really needs to look at this, when
Yeah.
it comes to a community board, because
Yeah.
can you, yeah,
Yeah.
and what elements are here?
Mhm. Because it's an individual landmark, there aren't rules. Staff can't really approve anything on an individual landmark. And which is kind of an unfortunate situation for a single
Right.
storefront, right?
Right.
And because of some of the unique conditions, the location of the signs, that bracket sign being close to the bullnose and the signage, on the sign band straddling both of the panels, staff has included those. They can approve signage at staff level, but because even though these signs meet all of their criteria, because of the way they're being located and installed on the building, that's what is bringing it to hearing level. But the storefront itself, you can't replace a storefront in a individual landmark at staff level.
Thanks.
Michael?
I have 2. Got the bullnose, thank you. Now, you said this has recently become an individual landmark.
Mhm.
Could you tell us why, or tell me why? They probably all know. But could you tell me what was the reason that they picked this building on Madison Avenue to make it a landmark?
Well, I think the trigger was Midtown East rezoning. But it is a significant example of neo-Gothic skyscraper design, designed by H. Craig Severance, who designed 40 Wall Street. And so he was an important figure in 1920s architecture, skyscraper design, and this is a kind of a unique building along Madison. I think that's the significance of the building, but I think that the actual process transpired as a result of the rezoning. Because every time there is a rezoning, landmarks, as part of the process, looks at the area and assesses potential landmarks. And so out of that process came a handful of landmarks in Midtown East. City Court was designated as part of that.
And I think he also did that, toy building north, H. Craig Severance.
On,
In Madison Square.
Madison Square, Fifth
Yeah,
Avenue.
no, yeah, it was there.
Yeah.
The other question I had to do with the sign. What do you call that sign that sticks blade, a blade sign? Could you show us that a little bit and talk about it?
Can zoom in, does it work on your? Oh, no. Back up.
Share button, the green
Yeah, I'm
one.
trying to get it, but it's not. Okay. Just a little bit about the design of it, is that,
How far it sticks out of the
Okay.
window, how high
Yeah.
it is above the ground, what it's made out of,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
okay, so it's 10 feet above, the bottom of the sign is 10 feet above the sidewalk. That's the minimum requirement. And which places it right below the bullnose.
Right, I know what that is.
And the sign is 15 inches in diameter. And
Oh, 15, okay.
Mhm.
Is that it? Is it
Yep,
up there?
yep, 15. And it projects, if you can't see it in here, but it's projecting 18 inches. The whole building is shown.
I'm not seeing anything. Architects see, we got a lot of architects, but I'm like, not
It's
even
hard to see.
that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
It's hard to see.
yeah, you can look on my screen and see perhaps. Is that better? It looks different on my
What am I
screen.
looking at? This?
No, this,
Oh, this?
Yep.
And where's the sign?
this,
That word chopped is the sign?
Mhm.
Oh, it's a circular sign.
yes.
First time I ever saw a circular sign, that was a blade sign. Okay, that's why I missed it. I got
Okay.
it now.
15
And it's,
inches.
so it's 10 feet above the ground.
Mhm.
It's 15 inches in diameter, because it's
Mhm.
a circle.
Mhm.
And how thick is it?
It is 2 inches thick and 3 inches to the raised letters.
Oh, it's got raised letters
Mhm.
that are an inch above the 2 inches of the plane.
Half of an inch on each side.
They have an inch.
Yeah, mhm.
Okay, thank you. And that's the color, blue,
Yes, with green letters.
green.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to business or members from the public. Uh, Seeing none. Last chance. Seeing none, we'll move on to business session. Just as a reminder, only members of the committee are allowed to speak during business session. And just as a reminder to the committee, please wait until you're acknowledged by the chair to speak and direct your comments towards the chair. First thoughts, anyone?
I guess it was helpful to hear how they thought about not penetrating any of the historic fabric, not removing any historic fabric. The sign lighting not being it's halo lit, just the edges. It looks contextual with the other storefronts, and it seems like this is coming to us because of the location of the sign and also because it's an individual landmark. So for me, it's hearing the rationale and then seeing the visuals to me is contextual, and I'd be for the changes that they're proposing.
No one else? Barbara,
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's fine.
Okay. Fine. Do we have a motion? Oops.
I mean, no, I just was gonna say.
Motion to approve?
Yeah, we can approve it. I mean, I'm
Okay.
not thrilled, but I'm not gonna deny it, so.
Right. Nothing dramatic here.
Yeah,
Friendly amendment, if we can make a motion to
A
approve.
little louder, please, can't hear that.
If we can add to our resolution, comment about suggesting they have a storefront master plan in the approval.
definitely. This building needs it.
Just add that, like, it included in the resolution, you mean?
Yes,
Gotcha.
we say
Okay.
we recommend that the owner of the building file a master plan, so all storefronts don't come to us piecemeal in the future. I mean, it made sense what she said, that it only was designated in 2016, and this is the first one, and that's why all those other storefronts that were stainless steel were uniform, but they must have predated 2016. So as each tenant, retail tenant rolls, it would be really nice to see it consistent. It's much easier for us to review and approve, and for the staff, this is just for people who don't know why they do master plans. It's a preference by LPC and by us, and then they're all somewhat uniform as much as they can be, and so it's a good recommendation.
Yeah, I could just, well. Is the applicant the owner in this case?
No, I don't think so.
So when we, in the application, it is,
Oh.
okay, because that's important enough. Because we're speaking, because the party we're speaking to is the applicant. so.
Right, well, the owner of this retail shop is of the building? I don't think. Sorry.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know if Chopped owns the building.
No,
Okay.
Chopped is the tenant, but the application is made for storefront replacement is by ownership. So they're replacing the storefront and they're incorporating Chopped signage into the proposal.
Okay.
So this is an application by owner.
So it's
So all
even
the
a
better.
better,
Yeah.
an even better situation.
Great.
Great.
All right. So, did someone make a motion?
But we did already. To approve, second.
Michael, second? I'll just. Oh, whatever. I'll go through it. Morris?
I was second.
Yes.
I'm a yes. John?
Yes,
Suzanne?
Yes,
Michael?
Yes.
Milan?
Yes.
Neil, virtually?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Dave, virtually?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Sachi?
Yes.
And Justine?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
I'm also a yes.
Oh, sorry, Donna, I forgot
All
you're
good.
on. Motion still passes. Thank you to the applicant. You're welcome if you wish to attend the full board meeting a week from this Thursday. You can speak for 2 minutes during the public session and, your own habits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more official item on the agenda tonight is 41 West 17th Street, within the Ladies Mile District, to install additional parking stackers on an existing parking lot.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's Hanny Dimitri. I'm the architect hired by the am I? All right, I don't need to share any audio from this computer. All right. We're working with parking lot operator and owner. The operator is the owner in this case. And it's an existing parking lot on West 17th Street. It's a through lot. From West 17th Street to West 18th Street. And it falls into the western, third or the western half of the block. It falls within the Ladies Mile. So, the historic district. And last year, the parking lot had installed 10 parking lifts on the property. The contractor that installed it for them, they were advised they did not need permits, but then they consulted us and they actually do need permits from the Department of Buildings, which entails us to file with landmarks. That's why we're here tonight. These are two pictures, one historic from the 1940s, and that's from, that's a current photo. All the stackers are on the left side of the property, coming in from 17th Street, except for one on the right side, one double stacker. They're all double stackers. They do not require additional foundations underneath them. That's an aerial photo of the property showing that it is a two lot, but that's an older area photo before they had installed the stackers. The stackers were installed mid-summer of 2024. These are more of the more pictures of the property, and that is from these pictures we were able to create a pre-lifts plan of how it was marked on the plan on the left side. And then we had, this will be the proposed plan. The rear section, which is the back section that goes through to 18th Street, did not change. It's the front section of the 17th Street that gets the line stackers on the left side and one stacker on the right side in front of the attendant booth. This is just a sectional view. The building is not ours, that's the adjacent neighbor, so just to show, and the bottom part is the specs for these parking lifts that they're installing. That's pretty much all of it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Michael?
So you're applying for permission to do something that's done? Okay,
We're legalizing them. We're legalizing them at this point.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And is there a plan to add any more to the existing ones? So just what's done is done. And like that, okay, thank you.
Roger?
Can you say again who gave the advice that a permit was not needed?
The contractor that brought in, where they bought the lifts from, and they brought them in, installed them, and then they consulted with us after the fact. So we got onto the project sometime in late July or August of last year. That's when we started the whole process.
Who, we is what? You are who?
Oh, I'm the architect on this project that applying with landmarks and eventually.
So your job, they hired you to get it approved?
Yes, they consulted us, do you need permit, do we need permits for these, we were already installed these, do we need permits?
And you've worked with Landmarks Committee before, so
Yes.
you're familiar with that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What was on site before the double stackers came about? Came to be
Just open parking lot.
open parking, so you increased the density by adding these, how much?
Actually, we did not increase the density because they had about 34, 35, and now they're sitting at 35. So they're just doing it for maneuverability because they had to move cars on the sidewalk or in front of their parking lot to
Interesting.
move cars. Now it's much easier, and if you look at it, it's much better organized, if we may call it this way. These are actual photos from the property, and it's much easier. It gives them a lot of space to move cars, and even they lined up the individual spaces. So the workers won't, so everything in the middle aisle, it's clear.
Go ahead.
Were you able to survey the neighborhood? Are there any other precedents or parking lots, open parking lots or parking lots that use these double stackers in the Ladies Historic Mile?
Within the 2 blocks of 17 and 18, no. The whole district,
It's a very small district.
yeah, I'm not sure about the rest of it, to be honest. Actually, that's, I'm sorry, I didn't have this on the first, this was, from a previous landmark application that we were able to get, and it's on their website, they've supplied us, and we had depicted the way the parking lot sits in the middle. It's still the same vacant land, it's just, we put in our lifts and the signal on the right side. But that's it.
What was the date again on the old photo that you showed? Is it from the forties?
1940s.
There are a couple that we are not sure of the date, like this one. I'm not exactly sure what is it. It looks like 70s or 80s maybe.
Yeah.
But that one, here, these two on the bottom are 40s. And this one also, this is from the Polar Fire. And Landmark shared some of these historic pictures with us.
Fascinating, and it's been a parking lot for 80 years now.
Yeah.
I just figured they stuck cars in there at some point because they ran out of room.
And actually, there's a C of O for it on the buildings department website, so rarely we find any of those, but it's valid, it's there.
Questions? More questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Dave, go ahead.
So, 6 East 17th Street, I believe is still part of the Ladies Mile. It's an open air outdoor parking lot, and I believe that there are double stackers in the back and the rear of that lot. I would really like to understand if that is legal or illegal, if they've received permission to do that as well. I don't know how Landmarks treats this. It strikes me that this would be a break from what was existing. And I don't know how precedent is for this district, and I'd like to get more information before making a decision on this. Sorry, to go back, I guess the question is to the prior question, do you have any sort of I don't know what does the law say on this sort of use? And you mentioned that you don't know if other parking lots have double stackers, if they're legal or not. Is that correct?
Just to kind of narrow it down a little bit, is the question about whether or not it's legal or illegal? Are you asking because of the double?
Are we basically saying that based upon Landmarks law, what is this? What do we like? What does it say? Are we basically giving approval to not listen to Landmarks law to do this or not? I don't. This one's confusing for me.
Yeah, maybe you could say what you said at the beginning, Hanny, or early on where you said you have to go through the Department of Buildings to get approval. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
So you have to go through us and LPC.
Yeah, we have to file with the Department of Buildings to obtain permits for these lifts, and in order to get approvals from the Department of Buildings, it's a landmark district, so we have to get approval from Landmark. We approached them, and they made their determination that this requires a public hearing. The first step is the community board meeting, zoning committee, and then the general meeting, and then the commission. As far as city planning approvals, yes, it is permanent, and we can have up to 48 spaces. We have a limitation of 153 square feet per every lift space and 200 square feet for every standalone space. That's what the city, what the zoning calls for. So the calculation is based on the lot size, gives roughly 47 or 48 total parking space.
Sorry.
Maybe we can ask what was staff level's reaction to these stackers? If you had that conversation with them.
We had conversations with them and I did one virtual meeting with them. They said, we don't have an issue with it, but this is out on the street and there's no building, it has to go to public hearing.
Okay.
They didn't really give much feedback. There isn't much, there is no building, no storefront, not anything.
Mhm.
So,
Just to go back to Dave real quick. Dave, did we answer your question? I just want to make sure.
No, I appreciate that. I guess this is a confusing application for me because I don't understand what precedent is for this sort of for this reason, right? And you know, what's to stop them from coming back and saying we want to do 6-story stackers here? And are we providing a pathway for stuff that we don't want?
Gotcha. Suzanne.
I think David raises a great point, and I don't know that this has ever come before us before. I mean, in the whole time ever being here, so I don't know if there's ever been a precedent set, and I'm uncomfortable setting it, frankly. You know, I don't want to deny, but I also don't want to approve because I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, is it if it sets a precedent and then you guys want to grow your business, this is, you know, but you're in a historic district, and so that's sort of their cars, but that's contrary. Does it change the overall contextual historic value of that's what we're supposed to guard against? We don't want to make it difficult for your business or for the area. So I'm at a loss as to how to move forward because I don't want you not to progress or for the people not to park and make it easier and cleaner looking. I don't want to block is a historic view or to change the historic contextual value of the area. I don't know how to vote on this.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of blurring the line between questions and comments, but just.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Just to follow up on that, just a little bit. Blur the line further. Is your issue that the work was already done and we're approving it after the fact? Or is your issue more that we're kind of giving them carte blanche to do more stackers and whatever?
Correct. I think that they are just doing their due diligence. They were asked to come to us and they're just trying to follow protocol. Maybe they didn't realize they needed to do this, so I appreciate them coming here. I feel it's been kicked to us. I'm saying that I've never been exposed to this. I'm concerned about setting a precedent in a historic corridor without further understanding of the impact to the contextual historic nature of what these stackers look like now and what they're going to continue to look like. And I don't want to set that precedent I'm not sure how to move forward. I don't have an answer for you, Kevin.
Just for my own question. So this application just limits it to work that's already been done.
correct.
So you're not asking for any additional work.
But that sets a precedent.
Yeah, agreed on that.
To go to David's comment about 6 East 17th Street that falls within the district. Yes, it is a landmark property and it's right here. There's the designation for it. And in 2009, they filed for 24 too-high auto lifts, and this was signed off in 2009. So they already, yes, they have lifts and they are legal. They have permits for it already.
Okay.
Okay.
More questions for the applicant, John?
Oh, we're in question.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of,
I
that was
just
my
wanted to
fault.
well,
No, I think I did.
I led you down.
I guess put in a question form. It seems to me the question is, we have 2 separate questions we have to answer. One, the legalization. They've done something. Are we gonna give its blessing? If we give its blessing, why? Which raises me to the question, I'm guessing that this is a request for a certificate of appropriateness. I mean, I know we haven't done that before, but that's the closest thing I can think of that LPC would be asking us to do. Is this appropriate? as
Yeah.
part of this deliberation, we then have to ask ourselves, well, what happens if we do not permit it?
Right.
Are we now
I have
arguing
thoughts on
that
that, but I'll
those,
save them
that
for.
those stacks have to be, removed?
Yeah,
So that's the context. So there are two questions, but
Right.
we have to ask. If we say that it's not appropriate, we never have to get to the second point, right? But if we say it's appropriate, then there's still a question. Do we want to legalize it? Because now we're incentivizing people to do things without getting permission to do them.
okay, I like that rubric for thinking about it, but
Mhm.
just to keep it on,
Yeah.
any more
I
questions?
think
for the
Neil
applicant?
had one.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Great, thanks for the presentation. So what happened? Do you know what prompted the owners to reach out to you? Obviously, they installed it. I'm guessing someone raised concerns with the owners or said that maybe they would need a permit. And then they contacted you.
We had a relationship with them on another parking garage, not in Midtown. And, they came back to us and said, okay, we have this location and actually we have these lifts. We had helped them with garage inspections, the Department of Building requirements for the structural, stability of a garage. And then they asked us about these lifts and we said, yeah, do we need a permit for it? So we better off get the proper permit.
Just to get that really clear, so did the parking lot receive a DOB violation? And that's
No.
what prompted this?
No,
No, they decided to proactively legalize it.
Yeah.
Without a violation.
no, there's no violation.
What's the maximum number of units you would be allowed for the zoning code?
For zoning, it's 48.
You have 10.
No, it's not 10 lifts,
Okay,
48
yeah.
parking spaces.
Okay, got it.
We have a total of 35 and they previously had the same 35.
Any other questions?
I do, I'm confused about that. So when you have, how do you count that? Like, is that if it goes up versus down? Can you double your number? So if it's a number, but it's just one lot, so it's, can you
Yeah, so
explain that? I don't know how that works.
city planning and the zoning resolution, they specify 200 square feet of lot space for every parking spot. The vehicle consumes 153. They assume the additional 47 square feet for collective maneuvering space between parking spaces. So we take the lot area divided over 200, that's for single space vehicles. In the zoning resolution, if you're using any vertical lifts, then each platform counts for 153 only because it does not consume
Got it.
additional maneuvering spaces.
Okay,
So you take the area of the lifts, we divide it over 153. That's how we get the number of lifts, and then we divide the remainder on the 200 that's allowed because they need maneuvering.
okay, thank you.
There, that ends questions. Any comments from members?
Sorry,
Oh,
one more
sorry.
question. I just out of curiosity, do you have the dimensions of the lot?
Yeah.
What I found, I mean, just from a quick search online, is that the lot is actually 6,900 square feet.
Yeah, you said that at the beginning.
Yeah. Which would only allow 34 and a half, not 48,
So we would have.
divided by 200.
So we're proposing 10 lifts. So the 10 lifts would consume 153. Oh, you can't see my calculator, sorry. So we're proposing 10 lifts. The 10 lifts would consume 153 square feet per lift. That's multiplied by 10, that gives you 1,530 square feet. When we subtract the 6,900, I get 5,370. So now we take the 6,900, no, sorry, the 5,370. We divide that over 200. That gives me 26 plus 20 for the lifts, because I have top and bottom. Because that's the 153. I get 46.85, so it counts to 47. That's why I said 47 or 48, but it's actually 47. So the area of the lifts it's carrying 2 cars, but it counts only for 153. The remainder, the single spaced units counts for the 200. So we end up with a total of 47 maximum. So whatever we provide, if we provide triple stacker lifts, then still we'll end up with the 47 max. You release more spaces from the ground up.
Morris, did you?
Yeah.
You good?
Did anyone from the local area, have they weighed in like, wow, this is so great, this is so helpful, or wow, we don't like this, or the ladies who might like, anybody from the historic district itself, have you gone to them? Have they said anything? I'm just curious.
I don't have any feedback on that
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Is there anybody from the public on?
There's no one. That's fine. Okay, so we'll skip public and we'll go into business session. Just a reminder, business session, only members of the committee can speak. Please direct your comments to the chair. First thoughts? John, I think you kind of had an interesting way of thinking about it, sort of a two-step process. Just in terms of approving, one, is it appropriate?
Right.
Versus a traditional landmark type approval.
Right, and I think. Yeah, I think that's. Question we have to answer.
Yeah.
Sure, it's.
No, go ahead and
Oh,
finish.
sorry.
I'll go after you.
Yeah, so I guess I would think what's. Others in the area that look like that. Is it any less appropriate than having just a bunch of cars there, opposed to the stack and everything? Sorry. And then, of course, well, I mean, those would be the two issues. I guess we did ask the applicant, were there any similar structures in the area? Not sure we got clarity on that answer.
Yeah, I'm a little
Yeah.
torn. It seems like most people are falling into that camp. Part of me is it's been a parking lot for a long time.
Right.
For 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult lot size to develop. Who knows if it will ever be profitable or viable to develop there. So part of me is for making it more efficient, so you don't have to maneuver out in the street and create traffic jams and pull on sidewalk and, pedestrians crossing.
Right.
Vehicular is never as safe. But the other part of me does not want you to see double stackers because we're making it more profitable for an undesirable use, even though it may be a permitted use. So they're making probably more money, even though there's not more parking space.
Yeah.
We're improving their ease of business. So I don't know if we want to contribute to that. So I'm torn,
Yeah.
but I'm leaning towards not approving it.
I guess one question. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, architect.
So
there actually was an application 8 or 10 years
You're standing right here, I can hardly hear you.
There was an application 8 or 10 years ago for an apartment building on this site.
Mm.
And I don't remember what technicality the neighbors got it killed on, because it was gonna block a bunch of lot line windows and change people's use, but somehow that got knocked down. So there was that application, they've had trouble doing it.
Mhm.
And then Champion Parking, which is the lot block away on 17th Street, has had double layer lists there
Mm.
for years.
So there is. a
I
precedent.
can't say if it's legal, but I would assume
Yeah.
if this has come up, that would.
Yeah,
would
that's
come up.
interesting. All right, we've got our two online, 2 of our 3 online people. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to vote against this. I think that the site is developable. I think that should not break landmarks law for parking structures that are not contextual with the district. I think that if they brought us a housing proposal or some other development proposal that was more contextual with the Ladies Mile Historic District, then I would be very open to approving that. But in the meantime, I'm not going to give them the right to do alternative things with the site based upon landmarks law. So I'll be voting against this. Thank you.
Got it. Neil?
I don't have as much of a problem with this plan. obviously something else being developed here would be even better. But I think 1 hour job isn't enforcement of building permits or landmarks laws. So I think we can, if we pass a resolution in favor, we should maybe say something about enforcement going forward, or that, we want to encourage, make sure that all applicants check zoning and landmark requirements before they do any work. But I think it improves the site, the safety of the site. It's easier to walk by when there's just one passage for cars instead of trying to guess what might be moving, might not be moving. So like in the older photos. So I think that it's fine.
John, did you have?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
We're in comment. business.
we're in comment, okay,
Yeah.
so another issue I need to weigh is how permanent these structures are. I didn't ask that question. We should have. I mean, are they attached to anything, or are they just sitting there? If they're easily removable for me, then it's easier for me to vote for this.
I mean, if that's.
They're not, yeah.
He's 4 feet away.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Yeah.
All right, so no, they're not attached to anything and they do not require foundations underneath them. They just sit on the asphalt blacktop. And they're attached to each other because they are being controlled by one pump unit that lifts them up and down, based on demand.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine just, you see the JP Morgan building, they disassembled an existing building, they're building a new skyscraper on top of it. I have to imagine if somebody wanted to actually build an apartment building.
Yeah, they can get rid of it.
Yeah. What's the word?
Okay. Yeah, just, I didn't spend enough time on it, and I'm happy to follow up with everybody on it, but I did see something in the public record where this lot and one or two of the ones next to it had an air rights, I guess, kind of like agreement between them. No, sorry?
There was an issue with it.
No, not necessarily an issue, but I had seen that there was, it seemed like they combined, or I guess tried to combine the air rights from some of the neighboring parcels, so I do think that they, eventually could develop on it.
Mhm.
Or at least that's what it seems per the public record, but I'm not sure what the issue
Yeah,
is.
I don't think, just to John's question just now, these stackers, I don't think are impeding whatever further development might happen one by day.
No.
There's a lot of, this is more controversial than I would imagine, but there's two issues here. One is, is it landmarks appropriate? From my personal view and just hearing people's comments, it's been a parking lot since the 1940s. It's still a parking lot. Okay, fine. The stackers are, maybe slightly more ugly than the previous version of a parking lot, but whatever. So that's one question. And then second is the question that, they're kind of taking this out of order. And so do we, to Suzanne's point, are we approving this? Are we kind of condoning this behavior, so to speak? So, this is gonna be tricky how we write this. Are we willing to write it and say we would have approved this as, under our landmarks community board view of the world, but for the fact that they, did this in not consciously did it on purpose, but, didn't do the proper steps, so we deny it, writing something like that.
I think
I'm
it's
happy
helpful to
take
look at it without whether it's existing or proposed, like, just look at it, if they were proposing this as new, what would we vote? I don't really think it should weigh in very much that they're there already.
Yeah.
Or at least, how would the committee feel if they weren't there, and then we could say how, does it change your decision, the fact that they're already there and there's some investments?
Okay, so let's assume that they weren't already there. How do we feel about this just from a pure traditional landmarks perspective? Are we all generally okay with this?
Do we know if there's any landmarks guidance on this?
I mean, I think it goes back to our traditional version of just, is it appropriate for the
Appropriate,
area?
That's the
Right.
question.
And it's- I mean, this seems straightforward to me, you guys are the experts, but this, I mean, it's been a parking lot since forever, I mean, it's not really looking all that different than what it did even in the forties. I think it's fine, but
Should we do show of hands, like pick one way or the other, so we,
this is like a tentative vote.
yeah,
But I can't hear.
Do a tentative vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
show of hands if you're in favor of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, was everyone generally?
Can I just
this
say
is a
something
landmark.
before, regarding the neighborhood, you know, I walk around a little bit. And there are parking lots with stackers there, but I'm not sure if the one I'm thinking of is in the Ladies Mile Historic District. But I know there are stackers all over the place down there.
It's ironic, this location is in Ladies Mile by like 50 feet or something, just like barely in there. Okay, quick show of hands, who would approve this if they weren't already there?
The one I'm thinking of? I see.
All right, they have to count, 1, 2.
What was the question?
Who would approve this if they weren't already there? If this were just a regular application? So, 4, 7,
You got Neil too.
and Neil.
Dave.
Okay, so I would approve it, so, just barely. Okay, and then the second question, who would be willing, who wants to deny this as a, sending a message that, you know, we don't condone the fact that this was done without proper authorization before.
Incentivizing bad behavior, so.
What's that, John?
You're incentivizing, the issue is would you be incentivizing, bad behavior, you know? I think a related point too, though, is the applicant acting in good faith or not? That's an issue we've always, tied into these.
I'll give you my 2 cents. I mean, this does not seem, it doesn't seem like there was, you know, vicious intent necessarily here. It's like, it seems like they just kind of was like, the guy who sold them stackers said, yeah, it's fine.
It's an
just do it."
oversight.
Yeah, and then they learned they messed up and now they're trying to fix it.
I think that, yeah, I think that the thing is, sorry, John, go ahead.
No, please, go ahead.
No, I was gonna only say that I don't know how to go about this. But how do we speak to, the language around an understanding of this type of use of parking in a historic district as it relates to how we vote moving forward? You know, without setting a precedent, if we approve this, you know, the efficiency of it, or if it's a cleaner lot, you know, that's all of great interest to me. But is it, you know, is it blocking, you know, what is, you know, the beautiful buildings or, you know, against the wall? Do you see them less? Does it change the area? It sounds like there's maybe other ones that they're legal, they're not legal. It's so vague, right? And so, but when we approve it, this will therein become what it is, you know, and so I just am concerned about that. I think they've done their due diligence and I don't really have any problem, you know, they've coming to us, you know, post. But I guess that's my biggest concern. I mean, we feel for the whole city, what's going on with congestion pricing, where do people park? Do we want cars here? It's just like this huge thing. But as it relates to our historic district, that's what we care about. And is it appropriate? If some of it's there, then that's not fair to deny them. If there's other lots that are even more in the historic district, in other historic districts, I don't have any of that information, so it's hard for me to approve or deny.
It sounds like the one example, if I understood it correctly, that was brought up, the other one on 17th Street, 15 years ago, this got approved. Is that accurate from what other people heard from that?
Yeah.
Right, so like, I guess I felt the same way when I first looked at this, I was like, I don't think this is what we need. But if we're not the ones setting the precedent, right, if it was set in 2009, I
I don't
kind
know
of
if they can't
feel
land
better. But
I don't-
it's on 17th Street, right, so in theory, would have had to, but I guess none of us were.
No, because they
no,
proactively
didn't.
came to us, there was no violation.
But this was filed with the Department of Buildings already. We could
I just don't know if they can.
find out if
17th
it was.
My guess is it's illegal.
Like,
Yeah,
without
we'd have to
any-
know.
Unless there's proof otherwise, it's illegal that they're doing it there as well.
Actually, install two, 24 two high auto lifts. And that is the address, that's, 6 East 17th Street, I don't know if everyone can read it or
And
not.
what was the date on that?
This is signed off in April 8th, 2009. And they had, if we go here, we'll see,
That's a construction permit,
yeah, they had
but not a landmark, not a community
Well,
board 5.
I don't have a landmark,
Okay, let's bring it back.
Yeah.
It's- I just wanna make sure this is more controversial than I would have thought. Anybody that hasn't kind of thrown their 2 cents in. Barbara?
Yeah,
I was just gonna say that if, they got a permit from the building department and it was, you know, part of a landmark district, then it automatically kicks to landmarks. So if they got the permit, that means that they went through landmarks.
Right.
So I'm just
Yeah.
following the logic here, that's all.
and.
We may
sorry,
not have seen it.
Okay.
We may not have seen it.
Somebody online. is
sorry to
trying-
I mean, I wasn't on the board then, so I don't know.
Me
Could,
either.
could the resolution maybe say approved based on hearing that landmarks did indeed approve 6 East 17th Street?
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
it's
you,
certainly a precedent. I mean, but look.
Actually, Landmark approved it in 1998, right here.
There you
Landmark
go,
approval,
landmarks approval,
Wow.
1998.
July 29, 1998, and they received the final sign off, August 25.
So they set the
1998.
precedent.
And Landmark signed it off actually in 2009.
Do we know, do we know that that is for the double stackers?
These are 24 of them. It says it on the job description.
What does it
Go back
say?
Right here.
Landmark sign on 1998.
So
I was a mere 5.
on section 11, it would say.
2 high auto lifts. There it is. All right.
24, too high ornament.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Started with that, no.
No, I think that's relevant information and
Yeah.
it helps their case.
Yeah.
But I think we should still vote on the
Yeah.
application before us, which is this appropriate for this site, this lot, at this size, at this
Yes.
time?
Right, it wouldn't be the first time that we change or ignore precedent.
Decisions,
Right.
yeah, 99, 98, different,
Yeah.
different city, different time.
I mean, there's a lot of opinions here. I'm leaning towards a motion to approve this, but with an extensive section in the resolution highlighting the fact that there was this discussion and we strongly do not like the fact that this was done out of turn, but we understand that there was confusion. So that's what I'm leaning towards.
I think that
That feels
Yeah,
I
okay.
second that.
I would
Okay.
vote against that, just so you know.
Okay, we'll see where we all come down. Okay, Morris?
Motion, yeah, approved.
Yes, okay. I'm a yes. John?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes, with great hesitation.
Michael?
Yes,
Moan?
Yes.
Neil? Moan?
So the motion is to approve with additional saying that we wish they had come to us before. Basically. Yes.
Karen?
Yeah.
Dave? Moan?
Yes, based on the precedent we just saw. I'm a yes.
Okay. Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Sachi?
Yes.
Justine?
Yes.
Zona?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Honey, that was really helpful. Again, board meeting week from this Thursday. You don't have to attend, but you're welcome to, you'll get 2 minutes at public session if you wish to advocate on behalf of yourself, but not required. Thank you.
So much.
No, sorry.
Quick question before we break, not related to your application, just to the committee. It came up whether the neighborhood was aware and how would they feel?
Yeah.
And I wonder if we've been doing postings and maybe with all the changes and things like that. But in my previous experience, we were very careful and diligent to make sure we posted when the committee hearings are. So it gave the neighborhood an opportunity to weigh in. I don't know if we've been doing that.
Yeah,
just kind of as a reminder to.
Yeah, that's great.
Because this would have been great to hear from the neighborhood
Yeah.
on this one, they
Yeah.
really swayed
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
There were postings that went up, but because of timing, we didn't assign committee members to do it until 2 days ago. That's probably my fault ultimately.
I mean, are we knocking on doors and going into residential lobbies and giving them to the doormen, or are we posting?
Common practice is just to post them, I mean, we have copies of the flyer, they're in the folder, but it's just to post them on, poles nearby or buildings nearby. But again, because of the time frame, I don't think, I gave this one to Dave, I don't think Dave went to the location and scattered it out, but yes, that is a good reminder and certainly best practice that we should do.
Yeah, especially
And
if
put
we
that in
find one,
resolution, best practice.
especially if we find ones that might be confrontational, like, no, like this was just kind of an off one, a bizarre one,
Right.
really.
Yeah,
That we are extra diligent.
For the
Getting the
community to
word
speak
out.
up, yes.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what is the ladies, what do they feel about this? They're like, oh, we've hated them, or
Right.
we
Yeah.
love them, or.
I'm honestly curious how the business is doing now that congestion pricing is in.
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
suppose all parking lots are having a tough time right now.
I would think,
Although lately I've seen the traffic on Second Avenue pick up
yeah.
just a little bit more.
Can you have your lips look very.
Canal Street is a totally different street now. It's remarkable.
It
It's
actually worked.
it's insane how different Canal Street is.
Last item on the agenda, any new business? Michael, I'm looking at you.
No, I don't have my tour was this morning.
Okay.
You all missed a great tour.
All right. meeting
Kevin,
adjourned, everyone.
Kevin, can you just talk to the fact, I guess, in March
with
that
that.
Landmarks has scheduled some time with us to talk through what they're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this meeting is on the 25th.
This one.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Just slide it on, John.
Okay.
No, I know.
You get any more?